Just 2 days remained until the night of the full moon. We were walking down the street in the opposite direction to my college. Today we're going to talk to Kagya, right?
That's correct.
What are you planning to ask him?
Naturally, we're going to pick up where we left off last time.
I paused to think. Are you talking about the chronology of events?
Precisely. When it comes to the story the brothers' memories tell, Kagya only appears in the second half. Do you need a refresher?
No, that's okay. I shook my head. Thus far, we had learned the past history of Cinderella, Snow White, and Red Riding Hood. Let me give myself a refresher. A commonality between their stories was the presence of their mother. While their opinions of her varied, by adding their memories together, it became clear why she had changed. Next, we needed to solve the mystery of what happened after the brothers became orphans. Let's do that.
I understand Kagya was passed around from relative to relative. Why was that necessary if their mother was alive?
Unlike the three older brothers, Kagya and Gretel had grown up in other households. Still, they weren't that far apart in age from Cinderella, so how did they get separated from the rest of the family? The more I thought about it, the stranger it seemed. Why hadn't I noticed before now? Even that seemed strange. However, I don't feel good about this.
Still having second thoughts.
The wizard shrugged his shoulders in exasperation. Of course I am! Annoyed by his attitude, I snapped at him. You said it was important for you to have a precise understanding of their pain and suffering. And yeah, I can see how that would help you heal them. To heal a wound, you need time and proper treatment. The deeper the wound, the more time it'll take. If you're too late, it might leave a scar. And I understand something like that can't be undone. But it hurts to watch you prod around until you find their sore spots. These people mean a lot to me. Obviously, I was interested to learn about their past. But right now, what we were doing to them didn't even count as shock therapy. We were just kicking them while they were down. Was it cruel of me to only start worrying about it now after we'd already started?
In that case, I'll let you ask the questions this time.
What?
You can ask Kagya all the questions you have for him. I'll just stand there and listen.
I didn't need a mirror to know what my expression must have looked like. My jaw had dropped and my eyes were as wide as saucers. I must have looked pretty derpy. You're going to step down from your role? I forced the words out.
Not at all. If anything, this will make it easier for me to carry out my duties. The fact I'm here beside you is proof enough of that. But according to you, my words have the power to hurt them.
So you want me to reopen their old wounds myself? At this, the wizard grinned impishly, his eyes as narrow as crescent moons.
That depends entirely on you. I guess we'll see what you're made of, won't we? Oh, we're here.
He stopped and pointed. Ah, the cafe. Huh. I stared up at the old-fashioned brick building in a daze.
Something wrong?
For some reason, I feel like I know this place. But when had I ever seen it before? It felt like a perfect match to some other place from my memory, yet I couldn't recall it.
Of course you know this place.
Huh?
This is Kagya's workplace, is it not? Surely you've been here before, once or twice.
Oh, right. There was a strange discomfort in my chest. That ain't it. Almost as though I'd fallen down a rabbit hole, you could say.
I dreamed of you again last night. A few days had passed since she started speaking to me. She showed no signs of stopping, and I'd vaguely taken an interest in her, so I decided to set a trap. The moment she started to speak to me, I opened my eyes.
What? Now we get to see her from the outside? Holy. What a way to start. What a way to start. And he's calling her puppet. He's pretending to be one of the other ones. Oh, that's rude. That is so rude. I love it, though.
What's brought you to my room, puppet? Smiling amiably, I spoke in an accent.
Kagya?
She looked surprised. She didn't even suspect it was me. Internally, I scoffed at her. It was my first time impersonating anyone, but I had a feeling it would be easy. After all, I'd been watching them from the other side of the mirror. I knew better than anyone what they were like.
Slipping into a young man's room for a late-night tryst. What a naughty girl.
She stared back at me for a moment, then ran a hand through her hair to play it cool.
Yeah, that's right. You're just so charming I couldn't help myself. Shameful, I know.
She replied jokingly.
Anyway, wanna chat? It's so weird seeing, like, expressions from her. I love it, though.
Sure thing.
I adapted myself to her. I had known about her for a while, and based on what I knew, she seemed like a headstrong woman.
How interesting.
As I waited for her to arrive, my eyes wandered over to the chessboard. The pieces had moved. At a glance, I recognized it as a chess problem that had to be solved in 11 turns, starting with the white pawn. But it was slightly different from the one I knew. The white pawn's first encounter was with the black queen, yet the queen had been removed from play. I grabbed the black queen and put her back in her proper place. At that exact moment, there was a knock at the door. I hastily returned to my desk and looked down at the textbook I had prepared in advance.
Come in.
And now it's being Gretel.
Sister.
Oh, hi, Gretel. Up late studying?
You could say that.
Are you tired? Want to rest your head in sister's lap?
The way she referred to herself as sister nearly made me laugh, but I held it in.
Would that be okay?
Of course.
She sat down on the bed and spread her arms wide. So I rested my head in her lap and closed my eyes.
Say, Gretel?
She stroked my hair as she spoke.
Yes.
How long are you going to keep up the act?
Fortunately, my eyes were closed. Otherwise, I probably would have widened them, and it would have given me away. Slowly, I opened my eyes.
What are you talking about?
I squinted dubiously.
Never mind. She actually looked a bit like Gretel there, you know, that, like, dead stare.
Maybe she was on to me. This amused me greatly. So I came out more and more frequently, testing to see if she actually noticed. It felt like a game, and since I was hungry for a challenge, I went for it eagerly.
Can you hear me?
She crept over to me while I was lying in bed and called out to me.
I can hear you all right.
When she heard my brusque tone, she left back immediately.
The hell are you doing coming into a guy's room at night?
I sat up and scowled at her.
Well, you see...
You trying to put the moves on me while I'm asleep? That's a little much, even for you.
I assume he's Cinderella right now?
I made sure to scold her in an annoyed tone of voice. At first she faltered, but then she shrugged her shoulders.
Sometimes us girls gotta be aggressive.
She had leaned into it completely.
I also just realized that her outfit is not her normal, like, fairy tale outfit. She's just, like, wearing a nice, kind of cute dress with a cardigan thing.
Are you like this with all the guys?
Of course not. Just the one I love.
I just did whatever I thought he would do in response. Next, he would probably let out an exaggerated sigh.
Are you actually mad at me, or are you just joking?
Take a guess.
I was trying to imitate his speech patterns. However...
You're getting lazy.
What?
Her shoulders shook as she laughed.
You're good at impersonating people, but you'll never hold a candle to the real deal. Cinderella would never say that. Which means you're not him.
It was possible she was merely bluffing. Realistically, there was no way she could tell it wasn't him based on what I said. Even he wouldn't say the same thing the same way every single time. But I decided to admit defeat.
How exactly can you tell?
Good question. Who knows? What about you? Why are you impersonating them?
Is that a crime?
Oh, I get it. This time you're Red Riding Hood.
No one else has ever recognized that it was me. Except for you.
Of course I would recognize you. No matter what mask you wear, you're still you.
The words "you're still you" made me uncomfortable. Nobody ever knew I was in here. Yet here she was, talking like she knew everything.
Wait.
Suddenly, she noticed something. Her gaze was fixed on the chessboard.
You can play chess? I didn't know that.
Evidently, she'd noticed that I'd moved the pieces.
You're actually not all that crafty, are you? Didn't you realize I messed it up on purpose?
No, I did not.
In other words, I had walked right into her trap.
How do you feel?
Like an idiot.
Well then, why don't we play around? That'll help you feel better. That being said, I hope you're prepared to lose. That's what he said to her now. Aw, cute.
As we played, she asked me,
So what's it like in the world where you come from?
Pitch black and empty.
I continued to impersonate the others. Not because I was too stubborn to let go. I just didn't know who the real me was.
So you can't see yourself?
Actually, I can. My body is always illuminated for some reason.
Oh. Sounds like a sad, depressing place.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
If even you don't know, then there's no way I'm going to.
Yeah, because you're not me.
Yep.
She murmured quietly, averting her eyes. She wasn't looking at the chessboard, but at somewhere far, far in the distance. I was amazed she had such confidence in her ability when she couldn't even stay focused on the game.
Checkmate.
Got her. As I pushed open the wooden door, a charming smile greeted me on the other side.
Come on in.
Oh, if it isn't Poppet. And Mr. Wizard as well.
Hi there.
What's going on, you lot? You're not on a date, are you?
A date? I looked up at the wizard. I half expected him to reply with some stupid joke like, "What, you mean the day of the month?" No, nothing? No, we're not on a date. I waved a hand dismissively.
What was that pause just then?
No idea what you're talking about.
Really now?
He spoke in a flat, emotionless voice. I don't know what you think is going on, but you're freaking me out.
Oh, I get it, really. You come here with Mr. Wizard to do more investigating.
Yeah, that's right. Of course, obviously. I almost added, right, Mr. Wizard, but stopped myself. If I said that, I'd only make myself look even more suspicious.
And you're skipping class as well.
My only response to his restrained fury was a dry, awkward laugh.
Well, alright then. Come this way.
Thank you. After he brought us to our table, I picked up the menu and looked around the cafe. We were the only customers in sight, possibly because it was so early in the day. Wood grain laminate countertops, wooden tables. The antique furnishings gave the place a pristine, old-timey feel, almost like I'd gone back in time. But strangely enough, I was somehow accustomed to it. As with the exterior, this interior felt eerily familiar to me. But why? As I agonized over it, Kagya brought us some water.
So, what you'll be having today, dear customers?
Oh, I hastily looked over the menu. Naturally, I'd already eaten breakfast, so I was only planning to order a drink. But as it turned out, this place had a huge selection.
I'll take a coffee.
Across the table, the wizard stated his order. I set my menu down. Actually, I'll have what he's having. Nice.
Will that be everything then?
Yeah.
Alright then, just to confirm, you'll be having 2 coffees here.
Yeah.
Coming right up. I'll be taking your menus now. See you in a bit.
Kagya bowed politely, then vanished into the back room of the store. I watched him go. Then, once he was out of sight, I turned back to the wizard.
Are you copying me?
He folded his arms and smirked smugly. No, I just felt like having coffee. Even I was surprised to hear just how pouty I sounded. At this point, I had basically admitted he was right. But the wizard didn't seem to notice.
Alright then.
He shrugged. His response felt like a giant neon sign that said, "I don't care," and it made my chest ache. Now I was tempted to get my revenge on him somehow. So, I guess we look like a couple, huh? Mirroring his posture, I folded my arms and smirked smugly.
Well, we are about the same age.
But you're in love with someone else.
Indeed. And so are you.
I could feel the smile fade from my face. He was right. I was in love with someone else. Which meant it was wrong of me to find him attractive. Oof.
Are you really that curious about it?
What? Well, yes. If I'm being honest, I am. I couldn't lie, so I decided to just be honest.
Curious about me? Or curious about her?
Both. I don't know why I'm so curious, but yeah. Ever since I first met him, the wizard had slowly started to take over my every waking thought. I wasn't sure whether he'd noticed. Oh, who was I kidding? He was the wizard. Of course he'd noticed.
Perhaps it's because, unlike you, I'm loyal to one person.
Are you trying to insult me?
No. I'm just saying we're polar opposites.
Yeah, I guess we are. Him, loyal. Me, fickle. If he were in my shoes, he probably would have chosen someone by now. He probably wouldn't even look at any other woman, the same way he wasn't looking at me. At this point, I was starting to feel a little jealous of his special someone. Have you gone on any dates with her?
No. I lived under the same roof as her, but for the most part, we only ever played chess.
The two of you were living together? You moved in with her?
Something like that.
Oh. It sounded like a mature adult relationship. Then again, I was living with my fiancés too. I felt like I could relate. Is she good at chess?
Very good. But I'm better.
He shot me a wink. Yeah, you're definitely a pro.
Indeed. But one day I must have let my guard down because she turned the tables on me. As I said, she's a stubborn, competitive person who would do anything to win.
What, so she cheated?
Precisely.
But how? The chessboard is so small, wouldn't it be hard to cheat?
How do you think she did it?
Let's see. If I was going to cheat at chess, I'd distract my opponent, then flip the board 180 degrees.
You really are a lot like her.
He smiled, pleased. Really?
Come to think of it, you might be the first.
The first what?
The first person I've ever gone on a proper date with.
I stared at him in surprise, then looked down at my hands. Oh, I see. So I'm your first, I mumbled under my breath. In other words, he saw this as a date 2. Oh!
What is it?
I just realized we didn't have to come all the way out here. We could have just waited for Kagya to come home from work.
You only now realize this.
Yeah, just now. Why did we bother leaving the house?
Because I wanted to take you away.
Huh?
I have arrived, the fiancé, one of. Sorry for the wait. Here's your coffee, dear customer.
Kagya slammed the mug down on the table, snapping me back to reality. Oh, thank you. Right when it was starting to feel like a shoujo manga, it turned into a love triangle from hell.
Yup. And here you are, Mr. Wizard.
As he spoke, he set down another mug plus...
What the? I don't remember ordering any mints. Consider it a token of my thanks for being so helpful.
Was this his way of telling us to GTFO? Dark Kagu Bear had revealed himself at last. I forgot about Kagu Bear.
I see. Well, thank you kindly.
The wizard casually pocketed the mints, swallowing Kagya's dark humor like it was coffee.
So, what do you need from me?
Kagya shrugged listlessly. Can we borrow you for a few minutes?
Sure you can. Won't get busy for a few hours yet. And talking to customers is part of the job, after all.
I scanned the room just in case. Sure enough, we were the only customers in sight. But this actually gave me pause. Come to think of it, are you the only person here right now?
Sure am.
Isn't it hard running the whole cafe? Where's your boss? Maybe he could handle it right now, but it was bound to get busier around lunchtime. Could Kagya really operate the whole store on his own?
The boss? You mean your father?
What? I looked at him in surprise. He frowned back dubiously. My father is your boss?
Sure is. He's the man in charge around here.
If my father was Kagya's boss, then that meant he owned this cafe.
Was that your only question?
No, let's see. I need to, refocus myself. Wait, my dad owns this, but I don't know about it, but I do? I glanced at the wizard, but he simply looked back at me in silence. I shook my head and forced myself to focus on the topic at hand, Kagya's childhood displacement. For now, any other questions would have to wait. Kagya?
Yeah.
How did you learn you had brothers? Last time we talked, you said you were really happy to discover you had siblings. So how did you find out? I asked as gently as possible, hoping to nudge him in the right direction without outright hurting him. But when it came to these things, Kagya was among the most intuitive of the five, so naturally he sensed what I was getting at right away.
The hunter told me.
What hunter? My brother?
No, not your brother. A different bloke.
A new character had been introduced to our story. A character with no name, however. Hunter, healer of undiagnosed neurological trauma. A doctor, in other words. But what relationship did Kagya have to this doctor? I was curious, but decided to follow the flow of the conversation.
When I came to live at the 5th house, a lot happened and I ran away. The next thing I knew, I was in a room with white walls. I couldn't remember who I was or where I lived. Luckily, I remembered my name, but I had no idea what I'd been doing before then. Then a hunter walked into the room. He told me I had 4 brothers that were suffering just like me. He said my brothers wouldn't hurt me, that they were on my side. Asked me if I wanted to speak with them. And I figured, yeah, if I've got brothers, I may as well. So the hunter told me where I could find them and off I went. It was a world of darkness. So dark I couldn't see a thing. Couldn't tell how far I'd walked or how much time had passed. No matter where I went, the scenery around me stayed static and unchanging, like the darkness had consumed everything, all sense of direction, even the very concept of time itself. But for some reason, I could still see myself. As I walked, I saw some other people. 1, 2, 3. All of them right there in the darkness with me. And that was how I met my brothers for the first time.
Wait, 3? So one was missing? Who was there?
Cinderella, Snow White, and Red Riding Hood, of course. The 4th one, Gretel. He wasn't born yet. So we introduced ourselves and talked about all sorts of things.
Such as?
Our current circumstances, what we were planning on doing next. We had nowhere to belong, nowhere to go, and no one to turn to. In the end, we decided we'd stay with the hunter who helped us all get together in the first place. So we lived there peacefully. As long as we lived there, we had a roof over our head and food in our bellies. Nothing fun to do, but we had each other in it. Come to think of it, that's where I first met your brother as well. I reckon he was an intern at the time. In the beginning, the hunter was really kind to us, but over time he got more and more snippy. Then after a while, the hunter stopped showing up entirely, and we never saw him again. It felt like we'd been abandoned again. Everyone always leaves us in the end. Based on what happened to the others, I'd say them's just the cards we were dealt. Then your father came to us and said we could all live in his house. Why would a total stranger take me in, when my relatives and even the hunter threw me away? I didn't understand it. So we discussed it amongst ourselves, and in the end, Cinderella turned him down on our behalf.
Yeah, I remember that. I was there.
Yeah. Then, one thing led to another, and we all got engaged to you. And that was where we first met our youngest brother, Gretel.
Having finished his story, Kagya's usual smile returned in full force. Just then, the front door opened and a group of women walked in.
Oh, I've got customers.
Thanks for talking to us, Kagya. For some reason, he smiled at me for a long moment.
No problem. Speaking on behalf of me and my brothers, allow me to say this. Thank you for letting us into your heart, Pulpit.
Are you starting to understand their feelings?
I heard the wizard's voice from somewhere behind me and came to a stop. When I turned back to face him, I found him standing a few steps away.
Now that we have a precise understanding of their pain and suffering, the next step is to heal them. Think about what you can do to help them, then take action. You could offer words of encouragement, or you could devote your life to them. If you truly understand them, then you'll surely know what you need to do. Thus, the first thing you must do is choose one of the 5.
I'm not sure I really understand. I interrupted him on purpose.
What?
I don't think I truly understand them. Granted, I know their history now, but you can't get to the heart of a story just by reading the synopsis. Does that make sense?
Then shouldn't you just pick one of them? If you narrow it down to one brother to start with, you can work your way through the rest over time.
He aimed a finger gun and fired a shot at my heart.
How about it? Ready to make your choice?
Wow. Again, eh? I mean, I did. We've done all of them. Except for, like, Alice at the end. And you. I've actually, like, learned all about them already. So does this? I wonder if this takes place before the other routes, but we're only seeing it now because it reveals so much about the story. You know, in the chronological time period, is this actually happening before the other routes? And maybe Snow White was actually, like, chronologically the last because the dream was starting to collapse on itself. Because things have been fairly stable here, you know. Like, there's other NPCs, no dead people have come back to life, there's nothing amiss so far. Not really. Not compared to Snow White's. So maybe Wizard was supposed to be first, and Snow White's last until Alice? Possibly. Anyway, no. I'm afraid I can't choose. He looked at me in abject annoyance, so I kept talking. Do you think we could speak to that hunter? You know, the one Kagya mentioned. He looks so pissed. I'm sorry, man. At this, the wizard furrowed his brow.
What would you ask him?
Something about Kagya's story gave me pause. Cinderella, Red, and Snow White all said their mother's attitude changed dramatically. And according to Kagya, the hunter's attitude changed too. I know their mother isn't with us anymore, but that hunter should still be alive, right? If we asked my brother, I bet we could find him.
He won't be of any use.
What? It was his icy voice, not his comment itself, that caught me by surprise. The wizard seemed to realize this too.
Or so I think, at least.
He quickly recovered his usual joking tone. Why's that? When I pressed him on it, believe it or not, he struggled to answer.
Because...
He looked at me for a long moment and said... Nice segue.
Ah, a cat.
Wait, what? Where? Oh, I see it! I turned around to find a lone kitten lounging on the sidewalk. Oh my gosh, it's a kitten! Mr. Wizard, it's a kitten! I was over the moon.
Do you like cats?
Of course I do! They're adorable! I crouched down and reached out to pet her. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty! Her ears perked up.
Is that going to make her come to you?
I don't know. I'm just trying. Here, kitty, kitty, kitty. Unfortunately, the kitten lost interest in me and started washing her face instead. You gotta go pss, 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 pss. Rejected. If only I had a little treat to give her. I dug around in my pockets and purse, but couldn't find anything safe for a kitten to eat. Then the wizard crouched down next to me.
Here, girl. Here, kitty.
The instant he reached out to her, she stopped cleaning herself and looked at him. Mr. Wizard! She's coming this way!
So it seems.
The kitten nuzzled against his hand and started to purr. This is so saddening. This is like going for a walk with my own husband. Cats ignore me all the time. I love cats. My husband, not so much. But he will be like across the road and a cat will like zoom over the road to like rub itself against his legs like, love me. And I'm like, hey. And it's like, I don't even know you, girl. Get away. Like, man, I can't even escape this in my fantasy visual novel games. She really likes you. That's amazing. In contrast to my excitement, the wizard looked at the cat dispassionately.
Is it?
Well, cats are very cautious creatures. And this one's a stray. But maybe this one likes humans? As I spoke, I reached out to pet her, but she hissed and swatted at me. Yep, story of my life. Nope, guess not. Oh well. I shook my hand to mitigate the pain of the scratch.
What do I do with her now?
Meanwhile, the kitten went right back to nuzzling the wizard's hand. Not that I was super jealous or anything. Yeah. Just pet her and say, good girl, I guess.
Good girl.
As he stroked the kitten's head, she flopped down on the sidewalk and purred happily. She loves you!
I don't understand why. I didn't do anything to earn it.
I caught a glimpse of his face in profile. His expression seemed a tiny bit uncertain. Mr. Wizard, haven't you ever been around a cat before?
This is my first time. What's so great about cats anyway?
Yeah, I'm starting to think this is actually first. His eyes shifted in my direction. I don't know. They're nimble and fickle and surprisingly persistent. Oh, and I'm told they can pick up on human emotions and thought patterns. If they sense that you're not their enemy and you won't hurt them, they'll open up to you. In other words, you're clearly a good person or else she wouldn't like you. The wizard smirked.
Well, she doesn't like you. So I suppose you must be a terrible person.
I've never once thought otherwise, so yeah. I smiled in spite of myself.
Really? But your fiancés? They all seem to see you as a saint.
That's because I'm a wolf in cat's clothing. Ha 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 ha.
I see what you did there.
Dumb joke, I know.
So it's all been an act?
No, it's not an act. I'm just sort of wearing a mask to hide my true colors. I pressed a finger to my lips and winked. I know what I am, and I'm leaning into it, I guess. Dang, Eureka. I'm just a skank who wants to marry a bunch of guys at once. I let out a self-deprecating laugh. Based on his behavior thus far, I'd expected the wizard to offer me a wry smile at most. However... I have now upgraded to cat. Delightful. And that was when he knew she was the one. A skank who wants to marry a bunch of men. That's the one for me. Great. Good. He looks so boyish here.
Good girl.
Suddenly, he stroked my hair. What are you doing? As I yelped in surprise, the kitten jumped off his lap and scurried away.
Oh, you scared her.
Sorry. Just when she was snuggling with you, too.
I don't mind, really. The cat may be gone, but you're still here.
Is that... I started to say, is that a pickup line, but stopped myself.
You looked like you needed some affection.
Did I?
Indeed you did.
I could feel myself blushing.
Are you a cat? Do you like it when I pet you?
I could get used to it. I stared at the ground. Unlike the cat, I couldn't let my happiness show openly. But nevertheless, the wizard seemed to see right through me because he kept on petting me. You know, you said you weren't sure how your special someone felt about you. But I'm starting to think she did love you back.
Oh?
I mean, think about it. You're so charming, even cats love you. Just then his hand fell still.
What am I going to do with you?
Huh? He rose to his feet and looked down at me as I crouched beside him. The sun was in my eyes, so I shielded them with my hand.
Lady Arisu.
Yes?
You were talking about wearing a mask just now. Well, the truth is I wear one too. Would you like to see beneath it?
This threw me for a loop at first, but then I answered, if possible. I wasn't used to being in a submissive role. I mean, I'm getting married to 5 guys, but I would rise to any challenge thrown my way.
You're quite the daring person. Well then, let's go find our hunter.
With that, the wizard grabbed me by the arm and hauled me up onto my feet.